Welcome to Moth Inc. How may I help you?
Welcome. Let me know if you want anything. Think I got a clean mug around here somewhere.
Will do. Oh yeah, those Red Guard are right there. Just thinking, I was just reminding myself about that, the fact that they might be here. Hello, sir.
If you need a meal or room, I've got both.
Okay, what have you got for sale?
Drink for the thirsty, food for the hungry.
Alright, let's see if I can sell any of my stuff to you. Well, not a lot, actually, unfortunately. Well, a lot of the stuff I want to keep, though. Are you... Erik, is Erik your son? I'd like to talk to you about... Well, he's asked me to talk to you about something that he asked a favor of.
My son?
Yeah.
Erik? What about him? Did something happen? Is he all right?
Oh, no, he's perfectly fine. He says he wants to be an adventurer, and maybe he has it out for it, or maybe he has the capabilities of being such, you know. Allow him to choose his life, I guess. Although I'm not one to suggest going out and adventuring. It's a very dangerous job out there. I almost died a couple times myself, but maybe it's worth a think.
But the world is a dangerous place.
Yeah, I agree.
Erik has no idea what he's getting himself into. What's more, he's got no armor. I'll have to save up the money for it.
Oh, well, I do have extra money I could give. I made maybe if I can give you some money. Here. What if I give you... How about if I give you some, and maybe you can give the armor to Erik as a gift, sort of thing.
You would give your own coin to help my son?
Yeah.
I'm moved by your compassion. Your kind deed will not go unrewarded, my friend. Tell Erik I've changed my mind and will visit Whiterun soon to fit him for armor.
Oh, wow, that's really good news. Okay, I will let Erik know. Oh, Erik was probably still in the fields. I'll go tell him. Well, how much more money do I still have? Oh, I've got lots of gold. I've never had this much gold ever. Even working in the Imperial City, I never had this much. Alright. Nope, he's still in the farms. Or in the field, not in the farms, oh my. Oh. Hey, Erik, my boy. My boy, what am I talking about? Sorry. Hey, Erik.
Did you have any luck talking to my father?
Yeah, your father actually changed his mind. He's going to get you fitted for armor soon.
I can't thank you enough, friend. I hope you'll come back to Rorikstead soon and pay me a visit. Maybe we can swap stories about our adventures over a mug of ale at the inn. All right, then.
Okay, yeah. That sounds like good. I guess I'll catch you at the inn later. It'd be nice to have someone to drink with tonight. All right.
Come on in. Just stoked the fire. Take a seat and get the cold out.
I think I need a room there. Malric, I think your name was? I think that's what your son said.
If you need a meal or room, I've got both.
Mralki. Sorry, Mralki. Yeah, I was wondering if I could rent the room.
Sure thing. It's yours for a day.
Oh, thank you.
All right, then.
I'm guessing is this the same one, eh? Oh, yeah. Oh. Am I sharing a room with him?
Let me know if there's anything else you need.
Yeah, no problem. I will probably come out drinking in a moment when Erik comes back in. Are you... Well, I guess I might as well write my journal. Yeah, I haven't done writing in my journal in a long time. And then I'll stay here, work on the farms. Oh, thank God. Alright. And I can read some of my books as well. Ugh, okay. Ugh. Well, let's read one of my books while I'm waiting. I wanted to read, I think, The Great War. I've already read... No, I didn't read The Mirror. The Great War might be a big one. Ah, what the heck. The Great War. Alright. The concise account of the Great War between the Empire and the Aldmeri Dominion. Ah, yes, I remember hearing about this from that adventurer back in Gideon, by Legate Justinius Quintus. Much of what is written in this book is pieced together from documents captured from the enemy during the war, interrogation of prisoners, and witness accounts from surviving soldiers and imperial officers. I myself commanded the 10th Legion in Hammerfell and Cyrodiil until I was wounded in 175 during the assault on the imperial city. That said, the full truth of some events may never be known. I've done my best to fill in the gaps with educated conjectures based on my experience as well as my hard-earned knowledge of the enemy. The rise of the Thalmor. Although it is not well known, Somerset Isle suffered from the Oblivion Crisis. I remember that, or reading up on it, as did much of Cyrodiil. The elves made war upon Oblivion invaders, occasionally even crossing over to close down Oblivion gates. As a nation, they had more successes than Cyrodiil, although the limitless Daedric hordes made the outcome a foregone conclusion. The Thalmor had always been a powerful nation within Somerset Isle, but had also always been a minority voice. During the crisis, the Crystal Tower was forced to give the Thalmor greater power and authority. Their efforts almost certainly saved Somerset Isle from being overrun. They capitalized on their success to seize total control in 4E22. They renamed the nation Alinor, which harkens back to the early age before the ascendancy of man. Okay. Most people outside of the Aldmeri Dominion still call it the Somerset Isles, either out of heaviness or ignorance. I did not know that. In 4E29, so we're still in 4E, so... The government of Waylandwood was overthrown by the Thalmor collaborators in a union with Alinor proclaimed. It appears that Thalmor agents had formed close ties to certain Bosmeri factions even before the Oblivion Crisis. The Empire and its Bosmer allies, caught completely off guard, were completely defeated by the much better prepared Altmer forces that invaded Valenwood on the heels of the coup. Thus was the Aldmeri Dominion reborn. So that's how they got stronger. Because Somerset Isle, well, it's on an island, and now they're on the mainland. Shortly afterward, the Aldmeri Dominion severed all connection with the Empire. For 70 years they were silent. Most scholars believe this was short of internal strife in Alamor, but very little is known of the factional struggles that went on inside the Dominion, while the Thalmor consolidated its power in Somerset and Valenwood. In 4E98, the two moons, Masmer and Sakuda, vanished. Within most of the Empire, this was viewed with trepidation and fear, and elsewhere, that's where the Khajiit are, it was far worse. Culturally, the moons are much more influential to the Khajiit. After 2 years of the Void Nights, the moons returned. The Thalmor announced that they had restored the moons using previously unknown dawn magics, but it is unclear if they truly restored the moons or just took advantage of the foreknowledge that they would return. Regardless of the truth of the matter, the Khajiit credited the Thalmor as their saviors. Within 15 years, the imperial influence in Elsewhere had so diminished that the Empire was unable to respond effectively to the coup in 4E115, which dissolved the Ellesmere Confederacy and recreated the ancient kingdoms of Enquina and Palatine as client states of the Aldmeri Dominion. Once more, the Empire failed to stop the advance of the Thalmor power. I know what this is leading up to. When Titus Mede II ascended to the throne in 168, he inherited a weakened empire. I believe he's still on the throne today. The glory days of the Septums were a distant memory. Valenwood and Ellesmere were gone, ceded to the Thalmor enemy. Blackmarsh had been lost to the Imperial rule since the aftermath of the Oblivion Crisis. Morrowind had never recovered fully from the eruption of Mount Valenfell. Hammerfell was plagued by infighting between crowns and forebears. Only High Rock, Cyrodiil, and Skyrim remained prosperous and peaceful. Although I don't believe that's all true. I mean, there are parts of Blackmarsh that were still loyal to the Empire, especially Gideon. But once you go further in, it was a little bit less, though. Emperor Titus Mede had only a few short years to consolidate his rule before his leadership was put to the ultimate test. On the 30th of Frostfall, 4E 171. My dad would soon join this war. The Almerian Dominions sent an ambassador to the Imperial City with a gift in the covered cart and an ultimatum for the new emperor. The long list of demands included staggering tributes, disbandment of the Blades. The Blades. Oh, if I remember correctly, I think they protected the emperor, I think? Here's the next one. Outlawing the worship of Talos and ceding large sections of Hammerfell to the Dominion. Despite the warnings of his generals of the Empire's military weakness, Emperor Titus Mede II rejected the ultimatum. Good. The Thalmor ambassador upended the cart, spilling over 100 heads on the floor. Every Blades agent in Somerset and the Valenwood. And so began the Great War, which would consume the Empire and the Aldmeri Dominion for the next 5 years. This is when Dad went to war. Right around the time I was born. Within days, Aldmeri armies invaded Hammerfell and Cyrodiil simultaneously. A strong force commanded by the Thalmor general, Lord Narfin, attacked Cyrodiil from the south, marching out of hidden camps in northern Elsewhere and flanking the Imperial defenses along the Valenwood border. Leyawind soon fell to the invaders. I remember living there. And Bravil was cut off and besieged. At the same time, an Aldmeri army under Lady Erinlewa crossed into western Cyrodiil from Valenwood, bypassing Anvil and Kvatch, and the hero for Kvatch. That was Oblivion Crisis. That was long ago. And crossing into Hammerfell, the smaller Aldmeri forces landed upon the southern coastline of Hammerfell. The disunited Red Guard forces offered only scattered resistance to the invaders, and much of the southern coastline was quickly overrun. The greatly outnumbered Imperial legions retreated across the Alkiri Desert and now famous the March of Thirst. From 72 to 73, the Aldmeri forces into Cyrodiil. It appears now the initial Aldmeri objective was in fact the conquest of Hammerfell, and that the invasion of Cyrodiil was intended only to pin down the Imperial legions while Hammerfell was overrun. However, the surprising initial success of Lord Narafin's attack led the Aldmeri to believe that the Empire was weaker than they had thought. The capture of the Imperial city itself and the complete overthrow of the Empire thus became their primary objective of the next 2 years. As we know, the Thalmor nearly achieved their objective. It was only because of the Emperor's determined leadership during the Empire's darkest era that this disaster was averted. In 172, the Aldmeri forces advanced deeper into Cyrodiil. Bravil and Anvil both fell to the invaders. By the end of the year, Lord Narafin had advanced the very walls of the Imperial city. There were fierce naval clashes in Lake Ruminar and along the Nibian as the Imperial forces attempted to hold the eastern bank. In Hammerfell, the Thalmor were content to consolidate their gains as they took control of the whole southern coastline, which was in fact their stated objective in the ultimatum delivered to the Emperor. Of the southern cities, only Higathe still held out. The survivors of the March of Thirst regrouped in northern Hammerfell, joined by reinforcements from High Rock. Oh, that's the Bretons. 173 saw stiffening Imperial resistance in Cyrodiil, but the seemingly exorbital Admiral advance continued. Fresh legions from Skyrim bolstered the Emperor's main army in the Imperial city, but the Aldmeri forces forced the crossing of the Nibian and began advancing in force up the eastern bank. By the end of the year, the Imperial city was surrounded on 3 sides. Only the northern supply route to Bruma, that's where I ran to, remained open. In Hammerfell, Imperial fortunes took a turn for the better. In early 173, the Four-Bear army from the Sentinel broke the siege of Higathe, a crown city, leading to the reconsolidation of the two factions. Despite this, Lady Aranelina's main army succeeded in crossing the Alkiri Desert. Imperial legions under General Decanius met them outside Skaven in a bloody and decisive clash. Decadius withdrew and left Ariana in possession of Skaven, but the Almeri were too weakened to continue their advance. The sack of the Imperial City. 174, the Almeri leadership committed all available forces to the campaign in Cyrodiil, gambling on a decisive victory to end the war once and for all. During the spring, Almeri reinforcements gathered in the southern Cyrodiil, and on the 12th of the second seed, they launched a massive assault on the Imperial City itself. One army drove north to completely surround the city, while Lord Narafin's main force attacked the walls from the south, east, and west. The Emperor's decision to fight his way out of the city, rather than make a last stand, was a bold one. No general dared advise him to abandon the capital, but Titus II was proven right in the end. While the 8th Legion fought a desperate and doomed rearguard action on the walls of the city, Titus II broke out of the city to the north with his main army, smashing through the surrounding Almeri forces and linking up with reinforcements marching south from Skyrim under General Joanna. Whatever. Meanwhile, however, the capital fell to the invaders and the infamous sack of the Imperial City began. The Imperial Palace was burned, the White Gold Tower itself looted, and all manners of carried out by the vengeful elves on the innocent populace. In Hammerfell, General Decanius was preparing to drive the Almeri back from Skaven when he was ordered to march for Cyrodiil. Unwilling to abandon Hammerfell completely, he allowed a great number of invalids to be discharged from the Legion before they marched east. These veterans formed the core army that eventually drove Lady Almerian's forces back across the Alkiri late in 174, taking heavy losses on their retreat from harshening attacks by the Alkiri warriors, or the Red Guard. The Battle of the Red Ring. During the winter of 174-5, the Almeri, the Thalmor, seemed to have believed that the war in Cyrodiil was all but over. They made several attempts to negotiate with Titus II. The Emperor encouraged them in their belief that they were preparing to surrender. Meanwhile, he gathered his forces to retake the Imperial City. In what is now known as the Battle of the Red Ring, a battle that will serve as a model for Imperial strategists for generations to come. Titus II divided his forces into three. One army, with the legions from Hammerfell under General Decadius, was hidden in the Colivarian highlands near Coral. The Almeri were unaware that he was no longer in Hammerfell, possibly because the Imperial veteran Decanius had left behind led Lady Ariel to believe that she still faced an Imperial army. The second army, largely of Nord legions under General Jonah, took a position near Sindel. A main army was commanded by the Emperor himself and would undertake the main assault on the Imperial City from the north. On the 30th of Rain's Hand, the bloody Battle of the Red Wing began as General Decanius swept down the city from the west, while General Jonah's legions drove south along the Red Ring Road. In a 2-day assault, Jonah's army crossed the Nibian and advanced west, attempting to link up with Decadius' legions and thus surrounding the Imperial City. Lord Narafin was taken by surprise by Decadian's assault, but Jonah's troops faced bitter resistance as the Almeri counterattacked from Bravil and Skingrad. The heroic Nord legionnaires held firm, however, beating off the piecemeal Almeri attacks. I need to look up that word. I don't know what that means. By the 5th day of the battle, the Almeri army in the Imperial City was surrounded. Titus II led the assault from the north, personally capturing Lord Narafin. It is rumored the Emperor wielded the famed sword Goldbrand, although this has never been officially confirmed by the Imperial government. An attempt by the Almeri to break out of the city to the south was blocked by an unbreakable shield wall of General Jonah's battered legions. In the end, the main Almeri army in Cyrodiil was completely destroyed. The Emperor's decision to withdraw from the Imperial City in 174 was bloodedly vindicated. Lord Narafin was kept alive for 33 days, hanging from the White Gold Tower. It is not recorded where his body was burned, if it was buried at all. One source claims he was carried off by a winged Daedra on the 34th day. The White Gold Concordat and the end of the war. Although victorious, the Imperial armies were in no shape to continue the war. The entire remaining Imperial force was gathered in Cyrodiil, exhausted and decimated by the Battle of the Red Ring. Not a single legion had more than half its soldiers fit for duty. 2 legions had been effectively annihilated, not counting the loss of the 8th during the retreat from the Imperial city the previous year. Titus II knew that there would be no better time to negotiate peace, and in late 175, the Emperor and the Almerides minions signed the White Gold Concordat, ending the Great War. The terms were harsh, but Titus II believed that it was necessary to secure peace and give the Empire a chance to regain its strength. The 2 most controversial terms of the Concordat were the banning of the worship of Talos, which I believe what's caused the civil war around here, and the cession of a large section of the southern Hammerfell, most of what was already occupied by Almeri forces. Critics have pointed out that the Concordat is almost identical to the ultimatum the Emperor rejected 5 years earlier. However, there is a great difference between agreeing to such terms under the mere threat of war and agreeing to them at the end of a long, destructive war. No part of the Empire would have accepted these terms in 171, dictated by the Thalmor at Sword's Point. Titus II would have faced civil war. By 175, most of the Empire welcomed peace at almost any price. Hammerfell fights on alone. Hammerfell, however, refused to accept the White Gold Concordat, being unwilling to concede defeat and losses of so much of their territory. Titus II was forced to officially renounce Hammerfell as an imperial province. Wow. I didn't realize how bad the Imperial Empire was right now. In order to preserve the hard-long peace treaty, the Red Guards understandably looked at this as betrayal. In this, the Thalmor certainly achieved one of their last long goats by sowing lasting bitterness between Hammerfell and the Empire. In the end, the heroic Red Guards fought the Almeri Dominion to a standstill. Although the war lasted for more than 5 years and left southern Hammerfell devastated, the Red Guards say that this proves that the White Gold Concordat was unnecessary, and that if Titus II had kept his nerves, the Almeri could have been truly defeated by the combined forces of Hammerfell and the rest of the Empire. The truth of that assertion can, of course, never be known, but the Red Guards should never forget the great sacrifice of Imperial blood, Breton, Nord, and Cyrodiilic at the Battle of the Red Ring that weakened the Dominion enough to allow the eventual Second Treaty of Stros-Mackay in 180 and the withdrawal of the Almeri forces from Hammerfell. There can be no doubt that the current peace cannot last forever. The Thalmor take the long view, as it proves by the sequence of events leading up to the Great War. All those who value freedom over tyranny can only hope that before it is too late, Hammerfell and the Empire will be reconciled and stand united against the Thalmor threat. However, otherwise, any hope to stem the tide of Thalmor rule over all of Tamriel is dimmed. Wow. That's a really good book. Okay. Well, I would like to read the next time. Maybe, I don't know, The Mirror. I still got that one to read. Brief History of the Empire, maybe. Volume 1. And then... I still got that bounty letter that I got from someone. I forget who it was. Of the Dunmer. Don't know if I really want to read that. And the Second Seed. That's a long time ago. Well, I think I might take my time out right now and write in my journal. Thank you for watching. Be sure to check out the previous chapter. Dar-Zeen has written a new journal entry. Click the link in the description and read it before the next chapter. If you want to be notified of future chapters, be sure to subscribe. We hope to see you again.